So thank you so much to everyone who's joining us today. We're really excited to do this interview. I'm super thrilled and honored that Bill would do this interview with me. For those of you who don't know, my name is Debbie Sugarbaker, and I enjoy, spirituality, anything that has to do with the soul and the heart and, energy and love and all that kind of stuff. And I enjoy doing interviews. So I'm just so thrilled to do this interview today with Bill Phillips, who is a renowned psychic and medium and author of 2 books, Signs from the Other Side and Expect the Unexpected. So I'm really excited that Bill is here today. We can see all these lovely souls that are joining us.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much. So before we get started, well, maybe we should just kind of jump into it. Bill, is there anything you want to start with, or can I just go right ahead with my questions?
Go right ahead, my love. Absolutely.
Okay. Yes, he does have an amazing book and a great story, and that's what I felt, that it was so authentic and genuine. That's how I found you. I do have a very synchronistic, crazy story about how I found Bill, and it has to do with my father who passed over, and even my brother, and so who also passed away. But I'll save that for a little later because I want to hear from Bill first. So, becoming a psychic medium is really not something that I think that, we're little kids and we're like, I'm going to be a psychic medium. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came into this work?
That's a great question, Debbie, and it's so true. I never sought out to follow this. I have a lot of recollections as a child, having experiences that I think a lot of children have, that they're told to kind of push down or to, not to believe by their parents, perhaps, or by society. So I have thoughts back to when I was 4, 5, 6 and seeing at night before I went to sleep faces around me with their mouths moving and things like that. And then it kind of went away for a bit, and I had a lot of life happen in those moments. And I was 14, about 3 weeks shy of my 15th birthday. And a very long story short, my mother passed away unexpectedly. And I had not seen her in almost 6 years. I was able to fly on a red eye to say goodbye to her on her deathbed. And I was just devastated. I was her only child. We had a very strong bond. And unfortunately, she had suffered from her own addictions when she was here to drugs and alcohol. So it made it very tough on us. And I remember being back there and just being devastated by this loss. My biggest supporter, my just everything. And a couple nights later, I woke up to her in the room. And that's when everything began for me to understand what was going on internally. It took about 3 more years for me to be able to piece everything together. And honestly, what happened was that Spirit had a plan, and they kept nudging me and putting me in situations where I was being put to the test with people. And I was also pursuing a career in opera performance, actually, and that was sort of my gift as I knew it when I was in high school, was a singer. So I went to San Francisco and I went to the conservatory, and long and behold, Spirit followed me up there, and I was giving readings on the download to people when I was there. I was very afraid to be public with this back in that time period, so I really ran away from it, and it kept chasing me. And it wasn't until I graduated from the conservatory that I just had a knowing, and I had all the signs around me pointing me in this direction. So I knew I had to pursue this. And right as I made that my truth and vocalized that,
wow,
it was pretty amazing how everything kind of came around full circle for me. And the rest has been history, really. So it was a really interesting process. I was very young to discover this connection and ability within myself. And I'm so grateful that I trusted it and then I listened to it. And it's been an amazing journey ever since.
Wow, that's so powerful. Especially what you said about is really inspiring. What you said about finding your truth and finally listening to your truth and going with it. I think that that's
Yeah.
something that a lot of people can relate with, especially since, you know, this December 21st portal or whatever. And, you know, a lot of people have been kind of gravitating towards, you know, what is my truth, my authentic voice. It's really beautiful how you said that.
Thank you. Absolutely. And, you know, back in the early 2000s, there wasn't as much mainstream media around mediumship or having a, you know, a gift like this. So I'm so grateful that there's been so many opportunities for people to share this wisdom with the world and this truth with the world. And I feel like it's inspired people that maybe come from different backgrounds, and maybe their families don't have a belief in this, but they maybe read a book or saw an interview or saw something on television that spoke to them, that they were not alone in this. And that really is my purpose as well, is to show people and to give them, hold space for them, to give them the opportunity to see that we're all connected. We all have this innate connection to each other, and to really develop that further and to trust their inner voice.
Right.
Yeah.
So beautiful. So I think that this is a question that a lot of people might have for someone who is in connection with the other side. How is it that you receive messages? Do you like hear a voice? Or, I mean, I've actually had a reading with you, and I know that you kind of had images, which I related with. I remember you said, you know, you gave me the image of a hummingbird with someone who was very important who came through for me, and you said, do you have a piece of jewelry? She's showing me jewelry and a hummingbird, and in fact I was wearing the bracelet that, you know, was given to me in honor of this person who had passed. So I know that you had images, but if you could just tell us a little bit more about how you receive your gifts.
Absolutely. I like to give the analogy of channeling is like playing psychic charades with the other side. And basically what that means is that when we leave our physical body, we leave behind the armor, the body, you know, the physical part of ourselves. And so what are we left with? Our thoughts, our consciousness. And so when I'm connecting with spirit, they're using me as a vessel and basically putting anything through that they feel confident that I will be able to translate for them on their behalf and make that connection happen. So we hear a lot about the clear senses, you know, just like we have human sense of taste and smell and hearing and sight and feeling, we also have those senses on a psychic level as well, or on a spiritual level too. So when I'm connecting with spirit, I'm basically just being aware of the shift from my physical self to my spirit self. And when that shift happens, it's for me just trusting the unfoldment of the story. And when I do that and just give my trust and my blind faith to spirit, that's when those connections happen actually. So for me, it really just requires a lot of trust within myself, because to me, what I'm seeing is very, how do I say, it's just very foreign to me. It makes no sense to me at all, but I know I have to trust it though, if that makes any sense. And so when I trust that, and also trust my, trust those senses. So hearing, I feel like because of my background with music, that I'm very strong with my clairaudience and also with my clairvoyance. So I hear a lot of things like in my head being jumbled. And if I take a moment to really sit with that and really be still with it, it becomes stronger for me. And that's when we hear, you know, them bringing through stronger evidence auditorily. So yeah, it's definitely a really interesting process, but it all goes down to listening within, getting out of your own rational space of thought and trusting that what you're being shown that doesn't have any connection to you, it's always those thoughts that have no reference to me, but I know is spirit's way of getting my attention.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. I mean, just because I've also had a reading with you, so I know, like, it was mind-blowing. So what would you say is your favorite part about being a medium? I mean, honestly, if I can just tell you, when I had a reading with you and I was kind of like thinking about like, wow, this is really hard work that he's doing. You're really, like, energetically, I could feel, I mean, I'm sure it's not for you. It was probably because it's what you do, but I feel like it's this it's actually a lot of work to be like this messenger between people. It's such a gift for us, to have someone who is able to do that, first of all. But what's your favorite part about it?
I would say my favorite part is, well, first the healing that happens, because so once someone realizes what's happening is genuine and real and validating to them, and it really, I feel like it has a way of opening their heart center, and really showing them that we're always connected, that there's no such thing as death. It's an illusion to us. And to
Right.
know that there's more than just this world and just this life, we're here for a very short time. So when Spirit's able to make that connection and to really bring that validation through, and I can see the aha in my clients' eyes, or maybe just hear it through the phone as well, just to know through their emotional response to what's happening. I think for me, that's the most rewarding, is to know that there's been a weight lifted off of them.
So
Really.
powerful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. So I read your first book, Expect the Unexpected. It must have been 5 years ago now. And that's really how I found out about your work. Just the energy of the book. I've worked on books myself, so I think that books really speak to me. And, just the energy that came through, I was like, wow, at that time, I'd lost my grandmother, I'd lost my grandparents, different people like that, but no one that was really close to me as I have more recently. And, but just from reading your book, I was like, I really want to meet this author. Who is this Bill Phillips? I've got to meet him. So I signed up for to do a reading with you, and the wait list was very long. And this was before I knew that my father was sick. And in the meantime, he got sick, and then 1 week before he passed away, I got an email from your assistant that said, we have an opening with Bill for a meeting. And I was like, Bill Phillips. I was like, medium. I'm like, no, death. I don't, no, not now, because I didn't want obviously we were fighting for him to stay alive. But the date that he gave me for the reading was the afternoon, and my father passed away that morning, was the afternoon that he passed away. So for me, it was like this, confirmation, because I think when people lose someone, one of the main things is you think is, could I have done something differently? Why did it have to happen then? Should we have taken a right instead of a left? There's a lot of that goes on when you lose someone. And for me, it was kind of like a calming thing that said, listen, there's a bigger picture that I don't see, and it was his time. So that was kind of a long-winded story for my question, which is about your books, because for me, it all started with your book. I read your book just serendipitously, Expect the Unexpected. And I know that since then you've written another one, Signs from the Other Side. So maybe you can just share with us a little bit about those two books. What inspired you to write them?
Yeah, and I want to just also add to that statement, Debbie, that I find it really incredible how that happens. And I find so often that somebody may have a session scheduled randomly, and it happens to be on like their loved one's birthday or on an anniversary. That's totally divinely works on our behalf to make that connection happen. It happens so often I can't even keep track of it. So I love that. I love hearing that story from you as well. I really wanted to educate people about, for me, how this worked, because I think that back, in the late 90s, early 2000s, there wasn't a lot of reference for this. There was a lot of movies like The Sixth Sense, for example, that really depicted a more dramatic approach to how this works and how this realm works. And I wanted people to know that it's a lot more subtle and a lot more natural and organic than previously thought, So I really wanted to give the reader my struggles finding this within myself and trusting it, and really just removing the doubt from my head about just, yes, you have this, you're supposed to use it. So I remember when I was 18, 19, and really getting my feet wet with practicing, this with people. And I just had so much fear at the time of really stepping into that truth. But what happened was that after I finished a session with somebody, within days, I was receiving incredible feedback about things to them that maybe they weren't sure about in the moment, but afterwards were just mind-blowing. And so I knew that that was my validation, and I knew that I had to let go of clocks and time when I shared this, because what I came to realize is that there is no time with spirit. Time is a man-made construct. And so I wanted to share stories that I felt were compelling for people to know how spirit worked behind the scenes to get our attention as well.
Right.
And I feel like we did a great job doing that, actually. And just thinking back randomly, I remember when I was 18, I had done one of my very first readings for somebody, and her mother came through and talked about sending her long lost love back to her. And it was really, really amazing, although she said, Bill, it's been 8 years. I haven't heard from this person in 8 years. Like, I don't know about this. And I got a phone call from her the following day. When she got home that night, on her answering machine was a voicemail from her long lost of 8 years. So
ooh, I have chills.
this was the validation that I needed as a young individual as well, that was trying to develop that trust within myself. So I find that spirit always provides that validation to us when we need it the most.
Right. Wow, that's so beautiful. I got chills from that story. 8 years. Oh.
Yeah, I know.
So, if there was one message that you would share from Spirit, somebody said that they were just cleaning my house and randomly picked up my phone to find you going live. Talk about a sign. I love it. We were just talking about the synchronicities.
Totally.
Beautiful. So if there's one message that you would share, I mean, I'm sure that you're getting messages all the time, but if there's something you would share now, a message
Absolutely.
from Spirit for this audience, for these souls that are connected to this specific interview or will be.
Absolutely. I feel that one thing that spirit brings through quite a bit, especially when I'm channeling or just in my own everyday life as well, is that we're never guaranteed tomorrow, and so we come here with intention, and we come here to basically share our light with the world in whatever way that is. And I feel like, especially right now with what's going on in the world on a global scale, it's to really not put that dream on hold. So if you're wanting to, pursue that career or be the artist or whatever it is, now is the time to do it. Not tomorrow, not next year. And a lot of time too, when spirit's coming through, they're also expressing what they're doing in their heaven. And it's usually the things that they were wanting to do when they were here, but didn't have enough time to do, for example, or maybe life got in the way with it. So they're always encouraging us here to live our version of heaven now, that we have this incredible opportunity in the flesh to experience life in this way. And that's such a gift. And so I think it's really important to understand the gift that we have just being here right now during this time.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
I think many people needed to hear that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, if anybody, maybe we can just open it up. Would you feel comfortable if anybody has a question?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Does anybody want to write in a question for Bill?
I love all the hearts. That's so cool.
Me too. I love all the hearts.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. If there's any questions, please send them in. Otherwise, I can tell you one more quick story about that I wanted to share as well, just to give my little brother a little thank you, high five from the other side, because it was his. When I had said, no, I can't do that meeting with you in 2018, so then I had gone back on the wait list, but I had forgotten about it. And then little did I know, but my brother had passed away in the meantime, 3 months after my father. It was a very difficult loss for me. And so this past November was coming up on the 2 years. And because he died very suddenly. So it was coming up on the 2 years, and I was feeling very emotional and whatever. And sure enough, 1 week before the anniversary, your assistant reached out to me and said, we have a meeting on this day. And I said, it just gave me like a whole nother wave of peace and kind of, again, backing up and getting that bigger picture. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so happy to
Yes.
hear that. And I'm so happy that it helped you. That's always the intention behind
It really does, like on a lot of, in just the way that it needed to, you know? So I'm sure that,
Yeah,
that's how it works for people.
absolutely.
I'm just gonna see if we got any. Okay, here's a great question from Angela. If you wanted to connect to spirit in a time of fear, what would you do?
Oh, I love that question. And actually, that was in my head a second ago, too. We have always two choices when we are conscious. We have the choice of choosing fear or choosing love. So in those moments, you know, whenever we're fearful, or whenever we are in a grief space or in an anger space, it actually lowers our vibration. It brings us down to a different level where maybe we're not able to experience spirit the same way that we would be able to if our mind was open, if our vibe was high. So what I would encourage anyone to do that's in that fear space right now, take a second, and especially, let's say, if you're wanting to connect, or you know, with your mother, and there was a lot of happy moments, think back to one of the happiest moments that really just makes your heart smile. You know, think back to a time with that soul that brings you out of the fear. You know, our thoughts are so powerful. And so I feel like if we can really give our attention to those thoughts that bring our awareness high or bring our vibration high, that's the best way we're going to be able to connect with them, because we're literally elevating our energy. And so when we're connecting with spirit, we have to go as high as we can within our human construct, and they have to lower their vibe to be able to meet us somewhere in between there to bridge that gap. And it really happens primarily, I would say, on a thought level. So if your thoughts are clean, happy, pure, that's going to be like the foundation or the stage to meet spirit halfway.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any feeling when COVID will end?
Oh my goodness. I get this so often, and I don't feel like it's going to end. It's not black and white is what I feel like. I don't think it's just going to be gone one day. I feel like it's going to be about how we maneuver through this, to be honest with you. Yeah.
And this is a question from another one of your book fans, like myself. Will you be writing another book?
Yes. Yes. Actually, I am in that beginning stage right now, actually. So I'm very excited about it, and I feel like this particular book is going to be different, but also in a sense help people live with their heart, to connect with their heart and see the world through their heart. So I'm really excited about that. Yes, absolutely.
I love it. Wow, I can
That's all I
already
can
feel
say
that
for now.
in my heart.
Yes.
Wow, so many people writing in, you know, that someone passed away yesterday. I think that this interview is very timely, you know, because a lot of people are experiencing or have experienced loss, you know, in this time over the past year.
Yes, I know. It's been, for me personally, this year has been so powerful, of showing people how we have free will as well, you know. And I've connected with a lot of souls this past year that were in a very dark place, you know, and they couldn't see themselves living in this new world. So I feel like it's really important to touch upon that for a second and just encourage everyone to know that you are here for a reason. You wouldn't be here if there wasn't a lesson to be learned right now.
Yes.
Okay, so whenever someone's having those racing thoughts or they just can't take the pressure anymore, I really want to encourage them to go within, to listen to their heart, and to also reach out to somebody as well, because I feel like because there's been so much isolation this past year, a lot of people feel alone and that they don't have a support system. But we all have a support system, either in the physical sense or the spiritual sense. And a lot of times, our guides and our angels and our loved ones around us in spirit are trying to nudge us or open doors for us to have that connection be possible. So the next time that you're having a really bad day and an old friend texts you out of nowhere and you're feeling like, I really don't want to talk today, maybe reconsider, because that's how spirit works. They're trying to reach out to you to kind of give you a helping hand.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Love it. Do the loved ones on the other side know that we still love them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, it's really important to know, too, I have this happen a lot when I'm giving somebody a reading, and it's usually towards the end of the reading, and they'll usually say something like, oh, tell them one last time that I love them, or tell them that I, think of them daily. And my response is, they just heard you. They just heard you. You don't
Right.
need me to talk to them. They hear your thoughts. They hear your feelings. So a lot of times what will happen is that when someone's coming through, they will bring up a very intimate thought, perhaps, that that person's having as a way to validate to them, yes, I was with you this morning when you were having coffee and talking to me. You know what I mean? So it's really important to recognize that we are thought first and we are voice second. So when you're wanting to connect with spirit or just be heard, go within your mind's voice, go within your prayer voice and make that connection happen. I guarantee you they do hear it 100%.
It's beautiful. This is an interesting question about if somebody is in like a coma, he had a traumatic brain injury. So he understands, but he doesn't talk. I've had dreams of him communicating with me, even my husband has. So she's just wondering, this is someone, Molly, about her son.
It's a great question, and I feel like this happens sometimes too when I'm in that channel space. If somebody is in a coma space, or let's say they have a neurological condition like dementia or Alzheimer's, and they're really not fully present or aware of the physical, what happens is that they're sort of like a pendulum swinging between the two worlds. So they kind of have one foot here and one foot there. And that's the reason why she's having dreams of that particular person, is because when she's able to be non-rational or in that dream space where her rational mind shut down, that's his way of keeping that connection going with her. So a lot of times when we're in a coma, even if we come out of the coma as well, we are still inhabiting the space, or the space on the other side, to be honest.
Right.
So I've had readings before actually where I brought through somebody who was in a coma space, and they were like, well, no, he's on a ventilator right now, but he's still breathing. And the evidence that those souls can bring through at times is pretty amazing, and it also validates the near-death experiences that we hear about so often now. When we're out of our body, let's say in a surgery or a procedure, and we're able to very specifically describe the room or the conversations being had, it's the same exact thing. So for anyone who may be experiencing that right now, still go within your heart, go within your mind's voice, and communicate that way, the same way that you would if you were communicating with a discarnate soul. Absolutely.
Right. And obviously sending a lot of love and energy to anyone, who is kind of going through that grieving or, have those kinds of difficulties. Is just, I feel just sending you a lot of love and a lot of light. And thank you for being here with us.
Absolutely. We need this now more than ever. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, there's so many questions. I don't want to tire you out. Do you feel like you can answer one or two more?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so we have somebody asking, do you connect with the Akashic records at all?
Absolutely, yes. And I feel that I have a sense that we connect with that energy more so than we realize. So for anyone who's trying to make a connection with the Akashic records or with a spirit guide or with their higher self, really what it comes down to is just getting out of your way, not making it more challenging than it has to be. To be honest, it's a very simple, subtle connection, but when we think too much about it, we block that flow completely.
Right.
So for someone who's wanting to connect with the Akashic records, I would encourage them to practice automatic writing. So grab out a pad of paper and start scribbling, set the intention, and see what comes off of your pen during that session. A lot of times we have to get out of our mind to make that connection happen. So I know that scribbling, automatic writing is really good for doing that.
Oh, that's great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you see a question that you want to answer.
Sure.
I see one that
Go
jumped
ahead.
out.
Sure.
Any recommendations on where to start if we have been told we have a gift and to tap into it? Where would I start?
This is a really important question, and it's something that when I was younger, I wanted to be, the sponge for information, and I went to different classes and read different books, and every time I was in that space of what do I do next, I always heard, you are your own teacher. You are your own teacher. So
I love it.
there's nobody, people can be put on your path to maybe say something a certain way or to give you that aha moment. But when it comes down to developing this connection, it's going to be through life experience completely. So what I would encourage anyone to do is set the intention. Let spirit know that you are willing and you are waiting to develop, and for each person it'll be on a different level. I've heard of mediums sitting in circles for a decade before they actually came out and tried this, for the public. It just depends on the intention. But I feel like that's the first key. The second key is to surround yourself with people that are like-minded as well. And that's the beauty of technology right now and social media or these groups, is that there's so much participation around the world right now with people that have the same belief system. So I would definitely encourage you to surround yourself with people that share that same belief system as well. And then just to really be open to the synchronicity that is before you, and to know that, oh my gosh, I bumped into this person randomly and they happen to be really open to this. That's not by mistake, I love personally, and it's been challenging not to be in person this year, but to teach as well and to hold these workshops that I've been doing for the past couple of years now. What I love most about it is holding space for people and seeing them connect the dots, because they already have that within themselves. We just need to have that physical manifestation come before us to validate you're not crazy. What
Right.
you're experiencing is true and real. Get out of your own way and trust the process.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Yeah, people are asking about your going back to large group readings, if you would ever do that.
I definitely am planning it right now, so we will see what happens. I'm going to surrender to that, but yes, I do expect to be back in that setting. Yes, absolutely.
Let's see. We've got some great questions. I think that you answered this one. Do you have to speak out loud to our spirits, or can they hear our thoughts?
Yeah, you don't have to speak out loud. They hear your thoughts completely. So But I also want to point out as well, though, that they're not with you in your, how do I say, your private moments as well. So you don't have to worry about if you're, you know, if you're having a private conversation with yourself or whatever it may be,
I
you know,
can relate to that so much.
they are totally respectful of that, especially if you set that boundary completely.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Do you ever compare notes with Tyler Henry or any other mediums?
I definitely compare notes with a few of them. Very small number actually. It's, you know, you got to keep your circle close to you in this realm as well, you know.
Right.
So I'm blessed to have a few close friends that I feel like I'm able to just compare notes with, or even just sit and just talk about our experiences. It's so helpful as well, you know. Because sometimes this can be, from a physical standpoint, the physicality can be a lonely, you know, journey, but the actual reward of it is knowing that I'm being surrounded by spirit, if that makes any sense. So
Right.
I can feel a loneliness from the physical side, but I can feel a complete and just so much connection behind me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that part
that.
is my guiding light on this journey for sure.
Beautiful. Wow, so many people with so many beautiful questions and comments, and thank you so much. Thank you for all of the love that I can feel literally coming from these comments and questions and support. Angel questions, guardian angels.
Oh, absolutely. We all have our own team of angels, of guides, of you know, loved ones that we've traveled with through lifetimes as well. So they're always there. They're always in the background. We have to just be more present to make that connection with them. Truly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe one last question. What does it mean when we no longer dream or get messages from someone who has passed?
That's a great question. You know, a lot of people, it's like winning the lottery when they have that visitation in their dream space. So many people want to have that consciously. But part of our evolution is that when we leave our physical body, we continue ascending, and we continue, I would say, following our purpose, our spiritual purpose as well. So there does come a point where they're not as connected to the physical part of this world, where they're maybe sent to somebody else to help another soul through a journey, for example. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yes,
different jobs, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So sometimes somebody will have one dream that's so vivid of their loved one, and that will be it, because they've gotten their attention, they've shown them, I am with you. And what happens is that those signs will change. So somebody may have a visitation where they're even conscious, like I had when I was so young as well. And then after that, the signs are more subtle. So I know for me personally, I can say that my mom sends me a lot of different symbols daily, going back to a white butterfly that I see daily in some form, the number 143, eagles as well sometimes too. So it's a matter of really trusting the subtleties of how they want to give us those symbols. But I know that when a soul first crosses, that's when they're going to try everything in their power to get our attention. I'll give you a quick example. I remember when this was back in 1999 when my mother passed away, and the family that she was living with, they actually received a phone call. There was no number, and there was her voice on the end of the line in a very crackly type of distorted sound, and she was basically saying my name. She was trying to tell them that she was around me. So it also validated as well the experience that I had a couple of weeks prior to that too. So they tried everything. So I would say, especially right now with people that are not allowed to be with their loved ones during their transitions, which I know is so challenging. Really pay attention around you of what's happening that day and that night. I guarantee you're going to have experiences where you might see these lights flashing or flickering around you. That's a big one. You may have the dream or just have this knowing that they're around you as well, but they usually will try their best to get our attention within those first couple of weeks to months. I feel after they cross. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Experience. Wow.
Yeah.
This has been just such a pleasure, Bill. Thank you so much.
Oh,
I feel like we could be here all day because literally the questions in the comments keep coming and people are saying, can you do more of these Instagram lives? So I'm just throwing that out there for you. People are really enjoying, hearing from you, and just your energy is just what you have to share is such a beautiful message. And I'm just so grateful that our paths crossed and that you gave me the opportunity to do this interview. I just feel really blessed.
Oh, I'm equally as grateful, Debbie. And it's, if anything, for me, my intention this year was to be more, to do these more, actually, to be on live more. So it's almost like Spirit's like, here you go, here's your opportunity. So for me personally, I will be making an attempt to do more of that this year for sure.
It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one more thing, like you said, you mentioned the eagle. So the day that we corresponded a few weeks ago, I corresponded with your assistant about this interview and the details of it. And then as I was driving home, I just happened to see out of the corner of my eye, which something that I've never seen before in the flesh, which was a bald eagle. In a real bald eagle right there. So there we go.
Isn't that amazing? I love that. And the eagle has so many other, properties or meanings behind that as well, of just owning your strength as well, your independence, paving your path ahead. So I think that was a very awesome symbol for you to receive, Debbie.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You're very welcome.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. Thank you again, Bill Phillips. This is just such a pleasure, and I cannot wait to read your next book. And thank you. If you want to share anything else with all your listeners that are here, there's just so many hearts and waves and people that love you and that you've helped. It's just amazing.
Well, I'm so blessed, and hello everyone. I see all the hearts flashing on the screen, so that is just so heartwarming, literally. And as always, I feel guided to let people know that they have more power on their journey than they realize, of manifesting and co-creating and really trying to just live their best version of their life here. So I really want to encourage them to get into that space of attracting that life to yourself, and setting up the trajectory to live the life that you want to live. Because again, our time here is so short and we need to enjoy every moment of it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Debbie, and thank you for setting this up as well. And I'm so grateful that Spirit connected us, and I'm so equally as grateful that you had such a powerful experience too. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for joining us.